My name is Captain Akos Nimo. I am 36 years old. I have been an intelligence liaison officer for 11 years, and on a Friday afternoon in June, I came home after a 2-year classified posting overseas and walked through the door of the house where my daughter lived, and she screamed. Not with joy, with terror. She pressed herself against the hallway of the wall and she screamed, and she could not stop screaming, and the woman who had been caring for her, my late mother's cousin, Auntie Efwa, who had been living with Maame since I deployed, came running from the kitchen and stopped when she saw me and went very pale. Maame is 7 years old. She was 5 when I left. She had known me. She had hugged me at the airport and she had cried the way 5-year-olds cry, with her whole body, and she had made me promise to come back. She had been told I had not come back. She had been told I had died. I stood in my own hallway on a Friday afternoon in June, and my daughter screamed because she believed she was looking at a ghost. Let me tell you about the posting first. 2 years, a classified intelligence liaison role in a region I am not authorized to name. The posting had been high operational security throughout. Communication home had been restricted, not eliminated, but limited and monitored. I had been permitted to send 1 written communication per week through a secure channel. No voice contact for the first 8 months, limited voice contact in months 9 through 14, more regular communication in the final months as the operational sensitivity reduced. I had sent letters. I had sent voice messages when permitted. I had sent photographs. I had received almost nothing back. I had attributed this to the operational security restrictions on the receiving end, to the difficulty of maintaining correspondence across a classified deployment, to the bureaucratic delays in the secure communication channel. I had not known that my daughter's communication access was my ex-husband, Richard Bodu, and Richard had decided at some point in the first weeks of my deployment that my absence was an opportunity.
The object at the center of everything was a document. 1 page, official-looking. A death notification. The kind issued by the military to next of kin when a serving officer is killed in action or dies in service. Richard had not received this document. He had created it. He had worked for 4 years as an administrative contractor for a logistics company that held a military supply contract. He had seen official military documents. He had learned their formatting. He had understood what they looked like and how they were structured and what language they used. He had produced a document that looked, to a civilian, like an official military death notification. He had shown it to Maame. She had been 5 years old. He had told her that her mother had died serving her country and that she should be proud, and that the photograph on the mantelpiece was how Maame should remember her. He had told the school. He had told the extended family. He had told Auntie Ufa, who had moved in to help care for Maame in her grief and who had had no reason to question a document that looked official and a man who had seemed genuinely devastated. He had built a complete architecture of bereavement around a woman who was alive and 2 years into a classified posting and whose restricted communications had given him exactly the window he needed. Her classified status meant there was no normal official record for anyone to cross-reference, no public personnel listing, no routine administrative touchpoint that a school or a benefits office or a family member could reach. The classification that had restricted her communications had also erased her from the channels that might have corrected the story Richard was telling. What I understood in those first minutes. In the first minutes, I did not understand all of it. I understood enough. I understood that my daughter believed I was dead. I understood that Auntie Ufa believed I was dead. I understood that something had been done. I did not know yet what or by whom or how completely. I knew that my daughter was pressed against the wall of my own hallway screaming, and that I needed to get that to stop before anything else could happen. I sat down on the floor, not standing over her, not reaching for her, on the floor, at her level, across the hallway from her. I said her name once, Maame, and then I waited. She looked at me for a long time. Children understand things through their bodies before they understand them through their minds. Something in her body understood before her mind had caught up. Her breathing slowed. She did not come to me. She did not stop looking at me. After 4 minutes, she took one step toward me. After 8 minutes, she was sitting on the floor beside me. After 11 minutes, she was in my arms. She did not speak for a long time after that. Neither did I.
The object. I found the document 3 hours later. Auntie Afua had kept it. She had kept it because it was, as far as she had known, the worst thing that had ever happened to this family. She had kept it in a folder beside the drawer in her bed, alongside the photograph Richard had framed for the mantelpiece and a card from the school expressing condolences. She brought it to me when Maame was asleep. She sat across from me at the kitchen table, and she placed the folder between us, and she said she did not know what to say, and she was sorry, and she did not understand what was happening. I opened the folder. I looked at the document. I had 11 years of intelligence liaison work. I had spent 11 years reading official documents and understanding their structures and identifying their authentic elements. I knew what a genuine military death notification looked like. I knew its formatting, its language, its reference number conventions, its authentication markers. The document in front of me had most of those things. It did not have all of them. The reference number format was wrong, slightly. One transposition that someone who had not spent years reading these documents would never catch. One transposition. That was all that was left of the architecture Richard had built. One wrong digit in a reference number. I want to pause here, because sitting at a kitchen table at 11 o'clock at night, looking at a forged death notification with my own name on it, while my daughter slept upstairs believing she had spent 2 years grieving me, is the moment this story became something I do not have clean language for. I had come home. I had expected to be missed. I had not expected to need to prove I was alive. If you have ever come home to find that your absence had been used against you, drop a comment below. And subscribe right now, because what I did in the days that followed and what happened to Richard is the part that I want every person who has ever been lied about in their own absence to hear.
The first call was to Colonel Doris Ampah. Not because it was a military matter, not yet, because Ampah had been my commanding officer for 4 years before this posting, and she was the person I trusted most to think clearly when I could not. She answered on the second ring. When I told her in 4 sentences what I had come home to, she was quiet for a moment, and then she told me to photograph the document, front and back, immediately, before anything else. I did. She said, "Tomorrow morning you will call a lawyer. Tonight you will stay with Maame. Everything else waits until morning." She was right. I stayed with Maame. Barrister Sackey came to the house on Saturday morning. She was thorough and she was direct, and she gave me the shape of my legal position without softening any of its edges. The forged document was evidence of fraud. The interception of my communications, the letters, the voice messages, the photographs, constituted a pattern of deliberate interference with correspondence and with a child's relationship with a parent. The false notification to the school and the extended family had created a documented false record. The 2 years of Maame's belief that her mother was dead had caused measurable psychological harm to a child. Barrister Sackey said, "What Richard did was not a single act. It was a sustained campaign conducted over 2 years against a woman who was serving her country in a classified role and whose absence he calculated would protect him from discovery." She said, "The document is the foundation, but the 2 years are the case." She filed the first papers on Monday.
Richard. I will not tell you his version of events. That is not mine to tell, and I would not tell it accurately. What I can tell you is what the investigation found.
He had intercepted my letters by arranging for the postal forwarding address on the house to route through a P.O. box he controlled. He had deleted the voice messages by accessing the household device they were sent to, a device he still had credentials for from the marriage. He had withheld the photographs. He had shown Maame the forged document 11 days after I deployed. 11 days. He had not even waited a month. The investigation found his motivation in his financial records. He had been managing Maame's child benefit and the spousal support arrangement from the marriage. With me declared dead, he had intended to pursue a larger estate claim. The classification of my posting had complicated his initial attempts to verify my death through official channels. The forged document had been his solution to the verification gap, a document that would satisfy a civilian audience while he worked through the legal process. He had not anticipated that I would come home. He had not anticipated that I would walk through the door on a Friday afternoon in June. He had built his plan around a 2-year window. I had come home at the end of it. Richard was charged with fraud by false representation, forgery of an official document, unlawful interception of communications, and willful interference with a child's relationship with a parent. He pleaded not guilty to all 4 charges. The trial lasted 6 weeks. He was convicted on all 4 charges. He is serving 7 years.
Maame. She is the part of this story I will tell most carefully because she is a child, and her story is hers, not mine. What I can tell you is this. She knew I was real within hours of Friday afternoon. Children's bodies know things quickly. What took longer was the unraveling of 2 years. 2 years of a story she had been told. 2 years of a grief she had been given. 2 years of a photograph on the mantelpiece and a card from the school, and a father who had performed devastation so convincingly that everyone around her had performed it too. We saw a specialist together, a child psychologist named Dr. Boateng, whose patience and precision over the months that followed I cannot adequately describe. She helped Maame understand that what she had been told was not true. She helped Maame be angry about that, which was the right response. She helped Maame grieve the 2 years themselves, which was a different kind of grief from the one she had been given, and a more honest one. At month 3, Maame asked me to take the photograph off the mantelpiece. She said, "I don't want to look at it anymore. That's not what you look like when you're dead. That's what you look like when you're my mom." I took the photograph off the mantelpiece. I put it in a drawer. I told her we could put a different photograph there if she wanted. She chose one of the 2 of us from before I deployed. Her at 5, me at 34, both of us at the airport with her crying and me trying not to. She said, "That one is true." She was right. The document is in the evidence archive now. 1 page, a forged death notification with my name on it, and a reference number with 1 transposition that 11 years of reading official documents had let me catch in the first minutes. 1 wrong digit. The architecture of 2 years built on 1 wrong digit. And a Friday afternoon in June when I walked through a door and my daughter screamed, and I sat down on the floor and I waited, and after 11 minutes she was in my arms. The document said I was dead. I was not dead. I was on the floor of my own hallway, and my daughter found her way to me.
Here is what 2 years and a forged document taught me. The people who use your absence against you count on the absence doing their work for them. They count on the distance, the restricted communication, the difficulty of verifying anything from 2 years and 1 classified posting away. They build on the absence the way you build on a foundation, carefully, layer by layer, a document here, a forwarding address there, a deleted message, a withheld photograph, each layer making the next one easier to place. What they do not build for is the return. They do not account for the Friday afternoon when you walk through the door, when you sit down on the floor, when you wait 11 minutes, when your daughter comes to you. Document everything. The letters you send, the messages, the photographs. Keep copies, keep records, because the record you build from your own side is the thread that runs through everything they try to build against you. And when you come home completely. Your absence was used, your presence cannot be. Drop a comment and tell me your story. I read every single one. And subscribe. I am here every week with a new story. She came home. She found what had been done in her name. She did not stop until it was undone.